This is Common Knowledge, a Magic the Gathering podcast about improving at the game with a focus on pauper play. It's not about the cost, it's about the knowledge. Welcome to Common Knowledge. Here are your hosts, Brandon Clark and Lobbert. Enjoy this week's episode of Common Knowledge.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 18 of the Common Knowledge podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Clark, and joining me today is the regal, wild Lobbert.
Regal, huh?
Yeah, and wild. Every time I think of it like a Pokemon, like a wild Lobbert appeared.
Oh, now you have to battle me?
Dun, dun. Whatever the music is. Anyway, I don't know if you can tell or if it makes a difference, so maybe I shouldn't say anything, but I've been losing my voice all week. So,
well, good news.
This is probably the best it's been all week.
Good news. This is going to probably be a long one.
Yeah. We're doing our Dominaria set review today. So, yeah, it might be a long one. So if I do less talking today and just defer everything to you, that's why.
That's fine.
It's not because I'm lazy and have nothing to say.
I did a ton of research, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's give a quick shout out then to our sponsors, puremtgo.com. Go check them out for articles, deck lists, and other Magic Online related content. Big thank you to them for supporting us and supporting the show. And if you guys want to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/commonknowledge. And while you're at it, don't forget to check out our other sister podcasts in the Constructed Criticism Network, that being the Constructed Criticism Podcast and the Limited Time Only podcasts, both hosted by Spencer Howland. But let's just get right on with it. What are we playing?
This week I did dabble in some Boggles, and I've been playing my Emerge deck, of course. That's still improving, still working along with that. But yeah, Boggles, I wanted to test my theory of this is probably a good deck right now. Problem is I've been playing tournament practice, so it's mostly been against randos playing Brews. It does really well against them.
Yeah. I still think that Boggles is just really good.
There's
not a lot of...
It's inconsistent. Like, sometimes I see one half of the deck and not the other half. And if that's game 2 and they actually have hate for my enchantment, then I'm just playing 1/1s.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the nature of the beast when you play a linear deck like that. Sometimes you draw your bad half of your deck, but like most of the time you just play a Bogle on one and then pants it up and kill your opponent because it's incredibly hard to interact with, especially in this format.
I was having some hard times finding white a lot of the time, so I think if I actually wanted to play the deck, I might switch up the mana base from what I just downloaded and played. Anyway, what are you playing this week?
I've been playing a bit more Boros Monarch. So far I'm finding that the Skred Delver matchup is incredibly easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just sort of a breeze. You just draw way more cards than them, and you have way more removal than they do, and you just kill all their things, and their 1/1s can't do anything against your 2/2s and your 2/3s, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And you're on cloud 9, and this is the best. And then you get paired against the mirror, and the mirror match is miserable because it's just a slog fest, and you just grind each other into nothing. And then in games 2 and 3, if either player draws Gorilla Shaman early, the game just, I think, is effectively over for the opposite player.
It's one of those. If it's a league and you play a 50-minute game, you're just like, all right, I'm taking a break.
Yeah, and I just played like a 50-minute game against Tron. I probably could have conceded a lot earlier than I did, but I kind of kept hanging on because it was like, they don't quite have me dead, and I'm kind of just pecking away with a 2-2 here and there. And
Did you win on time?
he had like 8 minutes on his clock, and I had like 12 when I conceded. Just because he cast a, what is it, Death Denied?
Oh, wow.
Return all the creatures to your hand.
Oh, wow.
He cast Death Denied for like 6, and he got back 3 Mnemonic Walls, a Dinrova Horror, a Mole Drifter, and like something else. I can't remember. Probably another Mole Drifter. Like, it was basically everything I had done that whole game.
Oh man, I hate the Pulse of Marasa loop with Mnemonic Wall, and I can't imagine what it's like to have a. I was thinking of the Storm card, Reaping the Graves, but Death Denied seems just more consistent in that deck.
Yeah, I conceded to that. I was like, I could let you sit and play this out, but you're probably gonna kill me within 8 minutes. And it's not worth it to just sit here and hope you time out. So
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Boros Monarch. I like that it's easy to beat Skred, but I also find that I have an easy time beating the Skred mirror when I'm playing Skred. So I might just go back to playing Skred and doing well in leagues instead of, going 2 and 3 and 1 and 4.
Yeah, but branching out and seeing more of the format from a different perspective, I think that was probably a worthy pursuit.
Yeah. Let's move on to our next topic, the card of the week.
I'll introduce the card of the week. It's Mutagenic Growth. For 1 Phyrexian green mana, it is an instant that gives target creature +2/+2. It frequently makes appearances outside of green because it's essentially free. It only costs 2 life, and like if you're playing a combo deck with like is it Blitz, that you can just jam that in there, or you can put it in Mono Blue Delver to kind of give yourself a combat trick, or Mono Red deck wins. So it's something to keep your eye out for that maybe if you're new to the format you wouldn't so much expect. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I kind of wanted to spotlight a particular mechanic that I have run into that I haven't ever really run into. I know I was talking to Brandon and he was saying it's more of a common effect in Limited, but I just never run into it. It's where if you block with 2 creatures, say, like where it came up with me is I had 2 Seagate Oracles, and I was trying to block a 4/4. I blocked with both of them, and then they ordered the blockers, and I was like, oh yeah, they have to assign damage to be lethal on the first one, and then roll it over to the second one. And so I just pumped the one they ordered first, and so I didn't lose either of them.
Yeah, and I say it's more common in Limited just because that's usually the format where combat tricks are relevant. And there's not a lot of other formats out there where that's an interaction that's common. In Pauper, it kind of is, just because we do have more combat tricks. We have Mutagenic Growth, and there's Vines of Vastwood and Hunger of the Howl Pack and stuff like that see play. So it's a good interaction to know. And it's something that I don't think a lot of players are aware of.
I've played Stompy quite a bit, and it never comes up in there because you're just simply never blocking. And if you are, right, you're chump blocking and you're not stack blocking. So I was pretty much unaware of it until it came up, and I was like, oh! I wanted to share it with the world.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool interaction thing to do. Okay, well, that is the card of the week. Let's move on to our main topic, set review time. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of cover a couple of the key mechanics from the set, and then we're just going to kind of go down the list. We're not going to cover reprints. We're only going to cover downshifts and new to the format cards, and we'll tell you what we think about them. So should we just let's kick it off. Let's talk about a couple of these mechanics.
I'll take the first one. It is historic. Historic means an artifact, legend, or saga. There are pretty much no relevant legends in Pauper, and we got 0 sagas. So basically, historic means artifact. So we got another artifact set. Woo!
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was something that going into the set review and looking at how I evaluated these cards, if a card had historic on it, I paid extra close attention to it. Just because cards that interact with artifacts are busted, and there's some powerful artifact synergies in this format.
Sadly, as I was going through these cards, none of them that I'm aware of right now say when an artifact or when a historic card enters the battlefield. It's almost always when a historic card is cast. So artifact lands don't really interact with these much. They do on some cards, and we'll get to those, but sadly the artifact lands don't really do much with these.
Yeah, you have to cast them. It's not when they come into play. So these these spells that have historic abilities are, I think, going to benefit a lot from effects like Glint Hawk or Core Skyfisher, things that bounce your artifacts so you can get multiple uses out of them.
Yeah, or like the eggs. Anyway.
Yeah, the eggs. I think historic could actually make Pauper eggs a thing. More of a thing.
Particularly like 1 or 2 cards.
Yeah, which we'll talk about. So our next mechanic is Kicker. And this is an oldie but a goodie. And basically it's just you pay an extra cost and you get an extra effect. And this is so great because you can pay the normal mana cost for your spell early game. And then late game, you can pay its Kicker cost and get an additional effect. So it kind of helps mitigate flood. And it just helps you get more out of your spells late game. So, your 2/2 shock effect doesn't lose as much value when you get to the later stages of the game because you can pay 5 instead of 1 and deal 4 damage instead of 2 or whatever. So Kicker is awesome.
I found almost all of these were unplayable without their Kicker effect, though. So most of the time I'm going to be saying, adding that to the converted mana cost of the card and saying, is it playable for that? And a lot of the time I ended up with a no.
Yeah, and spoilers, I don't think any Kicker cards made it onto either of our top 5 picks.
One did.
Oh, one did. Oh, yeah, you got one.
Yeah.
And that one's good because I think its 2 mana effect is playable.
Yes.
So, or it's non-Kicker effect. I don't want to say 2 mana because that gives it away. Shh. Pretend I didn't say that.
Okay.
Shh.
If we talk
quiet.
They can't hear us right now.
Shh. Yeah, they don't know that I'm talking about the card, the thing.
Yeah.
It's one in a black. -2/-2. They can't hear me say that.
Yeah, vicious offering. No, we're not talking about that. Okay.
No, we're not.
Our next effect is cares about wizards effect. There's not this isn't like a keyword, but it's a theme. Yeah. So I thought I'd throw that in here. Basically, you get an extra little thing if you have a wizard. Anyway, should we
cost reducer and bonuses? It's probably not going to be relevant for Pauper, but you never know.
Yeah. So somebody's going to try to build it. And they're gonna fail. Sorry.
But it'll be fun to watch. So let's just jump on in head first, dive into the set review. Let's start with white cards.
Yeah, we're gonna go in Wooburg order.
Wow.
First we have Adamant Will. It's 1 and a white for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 and indestructible until end of turn. We already have a Johnny's Presence, which is 1 white to give a creature indestructible until end of turn, and then you can pay an additional 3 any number of times to give additional creatures, which is pretty irrelevant.
But I think it's an upside on this card that Adamant Will doesn't have.
Yeah. It just tacks 1 mana on. I don't think it's more playable than a Johnny's Presence. It doesn't see play as it is. I think that protection is just flat better. So I'm off
this card.
Yep.
Our next card, it's Aven Sentry. I didn't even want to cover this card, but Sean said no, we have to. Aven Sentry, 3 and a white for a 3/2 bird soldier with flying. This card's a stinker.
Yep. Next we have Benelish Honor Guard. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2 human knight, and it gets +1/+0 for each legendary creature you control. So it's a bear. This is also pretty bad.
Yeah, there are no legendary synergies really for it to benefit off of. So,
Nope.
Blessed Light is our next white card. 4 and a white for an instant that says exile target creature enchantment.
We already have
We
two
have
effects of
effects
this.
like this, and we don't play them anyway. And if you really want an effect like this, you can play Unmake. Just try to. You have to play around the deck building cost because Unmake isn't just a card that goes in any deck because its casting cost is hybrid blue black or white black white black white black. So you basically have to be white black or mono white or mono black to play Unmake. But that card is probably just better.
Yeah, the threats in Pauper just don't warrant you playing a 5-mana exile effect. Like, really, just play, I don't know, Angelic Purge or Journey to Nowhere. Next up, we have Call the Cavalry. It is 3 and a white for a sorcery. It creates 2/2 white knight tokens with a vigilance.
So this card I kind of gave a second look at just because we already have that one card that makes the Minotaurs. But the big difference here is these are 2/2s and those Minotaurs are 2/3s. And I think that extra point of toughness goes a really long way.
The vigilance, I don't want to say is incredibly useful. I don't think vigilance...
I think it's... Honestly, I think the vigilance on this card is probably irrelevant.
Yeah, it's not a bad rate, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
4 mana for 4 power worth of creatures spread out. That's not terrible.
I would rather just get 2/3s instead.
Yeah, it's a different color, but I still think it doesn't make it more playable.
I don't know, because at the same casting cost, you can play Battle Screech. I'd rather have 2 1/1 flyers than 2 2/2s with vigilance.
Yeah. That's saying a lot about both vigilance and flying. Anyway.
Yeah. Next card, Charge, is a single white for an instant that says creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. How do you pronounce that name? Ramosian Rally?
Yes.
Is basically the same thing, and you tap a white creature.
Yeah, that's the one that has seen play in like white tokens decks. That's a very good card. I don't know if it'll be replacing it as much as going alongside of it. Just 1 white for buffing your entire board I think this is pretty huge. This is one of my favorite cards in the set.
Yeah, this is one of the cards that I was looking at when I did my top 5 evaluation. Like it was on my list.
Next up, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce this, but I'm going to try. It's the Avarant Trapper. It's 2 and
Avenant.
Avenant. The Avenant Trapper. It's 2 and a white for a human archer. It is a 3/2. Whenever you cast a historic spell, tap target creature an opponent controls. I'm not too big on the tapping creatures effect in Pauper. The only time I've ever seen it do anything was in like Standard when the Miracles deck won. But I can't think of another one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great limited effect. If you have a way to kind of go off with your artifacts, like play an artifact, bounce my artifact, cast it again, tap 2 of your creatures, swing. The only deck that could abuse this is probably Boros Monarch, and they just attack with flyers anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't make that
remove.
deck, yeah.
They just remove your blockers with lightning bolts and Galvanic Blast. Got the name of the card for a minute.
Yeah, so I'm pretty down on this card.
Yeah, me too. Okay, next card is Dub.
Check him.
Dub. This card is a 2 and a white for an enchantment aura. It says enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 as first strike and is a knight. Wow.
That
Knight
creature
tribal,
type.
here we come.
Yeah, no.
No? Okay, yeah, this card's bad. Next.
We have Excavation Elephant. It is 4 and a white for a 3/5 elephant. It has kicker of 1 and a white so that when it enters the battlefield, you return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand. This is one where
just play the white gargoyle.
Yeah, it has flying, which we know is
for a mana
good.
less, and you don't kick it.
Yeah, this is essentially 7 to get an artifact back and play a 3/5. Ew.
I'd rather just play 4 mana to get an artifact back and have a 2/3 flyer. Okay. Sorry, Excavation Elephant. You suck.
You lose.
Healing Grace. This card's crazy.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's not relevant unless burn is like dominating, but the rate on this card is absurd.
Well, tell me what it does.
Okay, fine. Healing Grace is the white mana for an instant. It says prevent the next 3 damage that would be dealt to any target this turn by a source of your choice. You gain 3 life. Think about it like this. My opponent sacrifices 2 mountains and casts Fire Blast, and I cast Healing Grace and gain 2 life. I just 3-for-1 my opponent.
Oh, okay.
That's insane. The rate on this card is absurd.
But then
I'm not saying this card's going to get played, but if burn is like a thing and you have to beat burn, just put like 3 of these in your sideboard and burn can't win. It's a 2-for-1 every time.
But wouldn't
counter your lightning bolt, gain 3 life.
Wouldn't the only reason I would say this would be better than a spell like I can't remember the name, but it's like landfall. If you made landfall this turn, gain 8 life instead of like 4, and
life goes on. That one is gain 4 life, and I think it has if a permanent left the battlefield or something, gain 8 life.
There's that one. There's also a landfall one, which is super easy to trigger. You don't have to wait for them to cast their spell.
Yeah, but those cards are green.
No, this one's white.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Okay, 1 second.
I've never seen this card. It has landfall?
It's called Rest for the Weary. It is 1 and a white. It's an instant. Target player gains 4 life. If you had a land enter your battlefield under your control this turn, target player gains 8 life instead. If you're trying to beat burn, I say something like that is better so that you can just tap out, play it. The only reason I'd say Healing Grace might be better is if you're trying to protect a creature and you're trying to gain this life. It is kind of important to note that the way that
there's no Skullcrack effects in Pauper, right?
Our last card of the week was Flaring Bane.
Yeah, but that's not a Skullcrack. That just says damage can't be prevented.
No, yeah, that's our only Skullcrackish event or effect.
Right.
Event.
I'm trying to think of if there's. Well, this is an instant too, so I guess it doesn't matter. You can still just play this in response to your opponent.
Yeah, it is kind of important to note that you can't divide up the damage prevention. Like, it's not the next 3 damage.
Yeah.
It's the next.
It is nice too that Healing Grace. So Healing Grace, unlike the card that you Risk for the Weary, Healing Grace does lose to Flaring Pain, but Healing Grace can also protect your threats.
Yeah.
Which Flaring Pain cannot.
Yeah, and if you're playing some kind of like creatures are important deck.
I don't think that this is like the best life gain spell available. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the rate on this card is stupid high. For 1 mana, the amount of things that this card can do
is
really high.
They've been printing prevent the next X whatever damage to target whatever like forever in Magic, and I've never seen one played.
Yeah, but they've never printed one this good. Like with a rate this good.
Well,
I still don't think it's going to get played. I think you're confusing my point. Like, right? I'm not saying that this card is the end-all, be-all. If you have to,
yeah.
like, this card is fantastic, play it. But this card's rate is obscenely high. And I think if you want to beat burn decks, this is a good option. It just has more versatility than just gain 4 life or just gain life.
And
Like being able to protect your creatures from their lightning bolt and then counter their next lightning bolt.
All right. Next up, we have Invoke the Divine. It's 2 and a white for an instant. It says destroy target artifact or enchantment, gain 4 life. This is basically Solemn Offering upgrader to instant. I have seen Solemn Offering in a sideboard, but it wasn't good. I don't think this is playable either.
Yeah. Our next card is Knight of New Benalia. It's 1 and a white for a human knight, and it's a 3/1. And I think you all know how we feel about 1 toughness creatures with no relevant abilities.
Yeah, this is like the 6th 3/1 we got for 1 and a white.
It's not good.
Next is Mesa Unicorn. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2 unicorn with lifelink. We already have a 2/2 for 2 with lifelink, and it's a vampire, which is more relevant. So,
Okay, next, Pegasus Courser, 2 and a white for a flying creature, Pegasus. Whenever Pegasus Courser attacks, another attacking creature gains flying until end of turn.
It is a 1/3.
It's a strong effect, but I don't know if it's something that Pauper cares about.
Next is Sergeant at Arms. It's 2 and a white for a 2/3 human soldier. It has kicker of 2 and a white for when it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white soldier tokens. So it's a 2/3 for 3 that you can pay 6 for and get some 1/1s. That seems bad to me.
Yeah, I don't like this card. Next is Sarah Disciple. It's a 1/2 with flying and first strike. And whenever you cast a historic spell, it gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. I actually think this card is kind of good.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a 1/1 is largely mitigated by the fact that it has first strike. And, if you can have a turn where you cast a Glint Hawk and return your artifact to your hand and recast your artifact and make it a 2/2 with first strike, it can kind of just get out of hand. I'm not sure if it's playable. I think there's no room in a deck that wants to play this. They already have Core Skyfisher, but
yeah, in that existing deck, but there's also like a white Metalcraft deck that might want to play with this. It's not very good at playing artifacts repeatedly, so it wouldn't get that many triggers.
Wouldn't that deck just also rather play Core Skyfisher?
It doesn't really play as many like bouncing, like it's mono white, so it doesn't really play any of the prophetic prisms. And
okay.
I don't know, I haven't really seen it play so many of the Core Skyfisher like kitty effects. I think this is actually pretty good though. Like flying first strike is enough text on a card, and then when you add, it gets pluses. But I think in the end it is kind of a trap since it still dies to Electrickery. Yep, exactly.
Electrickery is the reason that I am off this card.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's got a lot of relevant abilities.
Yep. So that's our white cards.
Let's talk about blue cards.
So first up we have Academy Drake. It's 2 and a blue for a 2/2 Drake. And it has kicker. And if you kick it, it enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters. Meh. It's not very good.
All right. Academy Journey Mage, 4 and a blue for a 3/2 human wizard. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a wizard, so you can make it cost 4. And when it enters the battlefield, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. I don't think that this is relevant.
Even if you're trying to build a wizard deck,
Well, if
Aether,
you're trying to build a wizard deck, you probably play this card.
Aether Adept is 1 blue blue.
Oh yeah, Aether Adept.
It's also a wizard.
Yeah, and isn't Aether Adept? What is Aether Adept? A 2/1?
It's a 2/2.
Oh, it's a 2/2.
So you get 1 more power for playing this other card.
Extra mana.
And
I don't know. Maybe you just play them all.
And you can return your own creatures with Aether Adept, which can come back to bite you. Like, if they don't have a creature, you are forced to return one of your own. I just don't think either of these cards are playable. Even like,
no. I think if this card had affinity for wizards, like if it was 1 less to cast for each wizard you controlled.
Yeah, why didn't they do that?
And you could go 1 mana to cast a Delver of Secrets that mana wars a creature. That would be great. That would probably be too good.
I don't think it would be too good. I think it might push it into maybe playable.
It would probably be an uncommon because that would break limited.
Okay, sure. Next up, we have Arcane Flight. It's 1 blue for an enchantment aura. It enchants a creature, gives it +1/+1, and flying. This card's adorable. This is a kitty with wings.
And it's chasing a bird.
I didn't even notice. It's a cat with wings.
It's jumping off the ledge to eat this little bird.
And the guy's
it's like sprouting wings.
The guy's like, "No, kitty, get the bird." So, yeah, my notes.
The Tolarian academies are known for their magical research, powerful sorcerers, and accidental destruction of ecosystems.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good because like
flying cats would ruin an ecosystem.
Because supposedly cats eat more variety of creatures than anything else in at least the United States. Like they're like the biggest like super predator in when it comes to that of just eating the most things.
So you think they would just be the top of the food chain if they could fly?
Heck yeah.
Like, do you think that they could tussle with like a falcon or an eagle? What do you think? I mean, I think give it like a few thousand years of evolution, and flying cats would probably become the dominant predators.
Probably, especially since they don't have to expend energy to grow wings. They're just magic wings, or like they don't even have to expend energy to flap their wings. It's just they're magic. So magic flying cats.
I wasn't even thinking on the lines of magic flying cats. I was thinking just normal cats with wings. But yeah, if we're talking magic wings, they don't need any evolution. They're just the natural predator.
Yeah, I think it would destroy ecosystems for sure.
Next card.
No, let's actually talk about this card in like a are we going to be playing this card type of thing.
I don't think so.
I don't want to say, Cartouche of Knowledge is +1/+ flying draw card for 1 and a blue. That's infinitely more playable.
Cartouche of Knowledge is 2 and a blue. Is it 1 and a blue?
It's 1 and a blue.
Wow, okay, I thought it was 2 and a blue. I didn't play a lot of Cartouche of Knowledge in that limited format.
I have seen Cartouche of Knowledge be played in like real decks.
I would much rather play Cartouche of Knowledge than this card.
By real decks, I mean like ones that people sleeved up.
Okay, let's move on. Enough about the kitty. I don't think this card is playable.
Yeah.
Next card, Artificer's Assistant, is a single blue mana for a creature bird. It's probably the bird. No, it's not the bird getting eaten. It is a 1/1 with flying, and whenever you cast a historic spell, scry 1. Maybe for the sake of this set review, we should just say whenever you cast a artifact.
Yeah, let's say historic, because maybe someone's listening to this and also thinking about like modern or something, or helping them with limited.
There are certainly legendaries and sagas that you can cast in those other formats. So I think this card is great.
Yeah, I think we're always looking for like 1 blue mana guy with flying that has an effect. My problem is that usually when you're looking for that effect, it's usually to like cast your ninjas or something like that. I don't think that artifact decks want a scry effect. Maybe some kind of weird eggs brew, but then I think you're kind of stretching and you still don't want a 1/1 bird, right?
Yeah. But I don't know.
This is one of the cards that has gotten more hype in the set than a lot of cards though. So maybe there's something I'm not seeing, but I still think it's kind of magical Christmas land.
I don't know. I think this card is pretty good. I don't really know what the decks that play this would look like, or if the decks that the decks that already exist, I don't know if they want this, like you said, but
there could be some kind of like blue steel type thing where you're just casting like Ornithopters and then Somber Hoverguard or something like that, like a big flying presence, which is good. And then usually the problem that deck runs into is it runs out of steam or something like that, and I could see scrying helping with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this card needs to go. There already needs to be a powerful engine that exists to kind of just rip through a deck, and then the scry becomes relevant in that, it's like, I stack my triggers and I scry first and then I draw my card or whatever. Something like that. I don't know. I think this card is good, but I don't know how good, and I don't know if it's playable good. Like, I just don't know if there's a good home for it, or if the decks that exist for an effect like this even want it.
The power level's there. I just think that the deck around it gets confused when you're trying to play this card in it.
Yeah. Next card?
Yeah, is it me?
I can't remember. Yeah, it is you.
Next, this card is, I think, one of the big points of contention on the set. It's Befuddle. It is 2 and a blue for an instant. Nope, it's not this card. That card coming up. Target creature gets -4, -0 until end of turn. Draw a card. The reason I got confused is because I think when I think of Befuddle, I'm usually like, that sounds like a counter spell. It's not. This adds to our package of...
I think this just adds to our package of cards that won't get played.
Yeah, okay, sure, yeah.
I don't think there's anything exciting about this card.
Yeah, you're right.
Next, Blink of an Eye. This is like cool artwork.
Mm-hmm.
But it is 1 and a blue for an instant with Kicker for 1 blue. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If this spell was kicked, draw a card.
So you mean exactly like Into the Royal?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly like Into the Royal. But they couldn't reprint Into the Royal because the Royal is something that is...
In Zendikar.
In Zendikar, yeah. And so they couldn't have that on Dominaria, so they just had to make a new one.
So now we can run 8 of these cards. Whoopee.
Hooray! Move on.
Next we have Cloud Reader Sphinx. It's 4 and a blue for a 3/4 Sphinx. Has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you scry 2. I don't mean to shame this guy, but someone got on Reddit and was like, is this our new Mole Drifter? It's 5 mana, and it basically, like, scry 2 is like draw 2. And everyone was like, no.
I think for scry to be close to draw, like, you've got to be in, like, the scry 4 territory to get on par with draw a card. So to be on par with Mole Drifter that says draw 2 cards, we're looking to be in, like, the scry 6, scry 8 territory.
and Mole
and
Drifter
even then,
can evoke.
honestly, I might just rather draw 2 cards than scry 8. I mean, setting up my next 8 draw steps might be good, but I want the card now.
It's a 3/4. That's actually pretty big for a flying creature, But 5 mana is, I think, just too ambitious for, you're going to get blown out by Counterspell.
Yep. I don't think this card's good. I think it's close. It's very close. I don't know if it was a 4/4 or if it was 3 and a blue. Or if it said Scry 6.
Dude, Scry 6 would be amazing. That would be so much fun. I really think that'd be fun.
All right. Let's go on. Oh, this guy is the winner chicken dinner. This card is the Cold Water Snapper. He's 5 and a blue for a turtle. He's hexproof. He's a 4/5 with hexproof for 6. We don't even play Benthic Giant, so...
Is turtle not more relevant than giant creature type?
I think it is. Plus, I just really like this card. The artwork is insane. So it's a giant mountain turtle, right? Mm-hmm. And it's got waterfalls on it and moss growing on its back. It's got a whole ecosystem going on here. And then it opens its mouth, and it looks like the Sarlacc pit from Star Wars. And it's swallowing a bunch of birds, and it's just sucking them in. I imagine that it's like a vortex.
Yeah, it's like the Sarlacc pit without the tentacles.
Yeah. This card's sweet. It's not playable, but it's sweet. And I love its artwork.
Next we have Deep Freeze. It's 2 and a blue for an enchantment aura. Enchants a creature. The creature has base power toughness of 0/4. As defender, it loses all abilities and is a blue wall in addition to its other types. So we already have Lignify in green, and that I believe is 1 green, 1 colorless. That does actually see play, but it instantly makes anything able to be flown over.
Right. If you're really, I don't know, I feel like if you're really desperate for a removal spell, which the mono blue deck is, they just have a better version of this card.
Is it the Curse of Chains?
Yeah, they just have Curse of Chains.
Yeah, the fact that this is 3 makes it unplayable. If this was 2, I would be all in on this card.
I think the fact that it makes it an 0/4, it makes it unplayable.
Why? You just fly over it.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. 4 toughness is just so many toughness.
Yeah.
It's like 1 too many. But yeah, maybe if it was 2, this would be fine. And it's a little better than Curse of Chains in the fact that it takes away all abilities. I don't know if there are any activated abilities that would be relevant that Curse of Chains can't turn off by tapping the creature permanently.
Oh, Kumbaj Witches.
Oh yeah. I forget about those old Kumbaya Witches. Yeah, I guess this deals with Kumbaya Witches.
Very expensive, though.
Yeah, all right. If this was 2, I could see it. Okay. Because the deck that would play this card has mono flyers except for their ninjas. That's sort of the only real downside, right? Is you don't get in with ninjas anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's next? Homerid Explorer, 3 and a blue for a 3/3 Homerid Scout, because that's relevant. When a Homerid Explorer enters the battlefield, target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into the graveyard. This card is a stinky poop.
I'm going to object a little bit.
What? Okay.
As far as milling yourself effects like Zombies wants, or there are decks that want to mill themselves. This is actually 3/3 is a substantial body. I don't think it really goes in anything right now, but I think
Aren't there just better self-mill effects?
Not really, no.
No? Okay.
Right. There's there's whatever the cantrip is, and there's stuff like that.
Thought Scour and Mental Note. And
yeah, those are definitely better.
Careful study and strategic planning.
Yeah, but this is attached to a substantial body. I don't think it's necessarily going to go into anything right away, but I could see this actually seeing somebody can brew with this card. I think it's a good addition to the format is all I wanted to say.
Okay. Well, you definitely have a better imagination than I do.
Next up, we have Relic Runner. It is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 human rogue, and it can't be blocked if you cast a historic spell this turn. This is Stinky Poo.
No!
Explain.
I don't know. It's fine. This is not great. Okay, Tolarian Scholar is our next card. Is a 2/3 human wizard for 2 and a blue. This card is also Stinky Poo, right?
Uh-huh. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. This next card is probably also Stinky Poo, right?
This is the one that I was trying to talk about earlier.
This is going to be a controversial one because
we take a different stance on this than most of the rest of the internet.
This is apparently broken and it's bannable, and it needs to it's ruining the world, and it's the #1 card on a lot of people's pick lists, and we think it's not good.
So it's 2 and a blue for an instant. It says counter target non-creature spell, untap 3 lands. So the reason a lot of people think this can be broken is because it says untap 3 lands.
So you can untap your Tron lands and your bounce lands, and you can get a whole lot more mana on your opponent's turn.
Yeah, it's my problems with the card are it's gluing 2 unplayable cards together. If they had not gluing them, more like if they had a baby. If negate and rewind had a baby, it would be this. And I don't know what you're doing with that mana. Like, yeah, you can play Mystical Teachings, or what's the other one?
Alchemy.
Yeah. If you're playing either of those, sure. And
I think that where this card might be fine is an Alchemy deck or a Marasatron deck, just because they benefit so much from the untapping. Like, those are the 2 decks that get the most benefit from untapping 3 lands. Both decks play lands that make multiple mana, and both decks have a lot of things to do at instant speed. The fact that this only counters non-creature spells, though, and is conditional upon being a counterspell, it's not something that I can just... this is not a Cloud of Fairies. This isn't I cast this card and I untapped a bunch of mana and now I'm going off. It's I'm going to hold up 3 mana, and did my opponent do something I can counter this with? No. Well, I'm not flashing back my Forbidden Alchemy like I wanted to. Yeah. Like, you can't set your turns up going, okay, I'm going to cast these spells, hold up 3 mana. When my opponent casts a non-creature spell, I'm going to counter it, untap 3 of my big lands, flash back my Forbidden Alchemy, or flash back my Mystical Teachings or something. It's just very conditional upon what your opponent does, and it's, like we said, it's a mana more for negate at the end of the day, and that card doesn't get played anyway.
Yeah, I've played Rewind. I was like, oh, Rewind's gonna be so nuts. I'm gonna do all this stuff, but like,
I like Rewind. I think Rewind is
the better version of this.
Better than this card.
Yeah.
I will pay an extra mana to counter any spell. Yeah. And that card is better with, that card, Rewind, I think was fine when Mystical Teachings was the dominantly played card. But now that we're moving into the Forbidden Alchemy territory, I'm really off Rewind anyway. Mm-hmm. I don't like this card, though.
There's both sides of this card are conditional. Countering a non-creature spell has to be non-creature. That part's conditional. And then untapping 3 lands, it doesn't sound... That part isn't on the card conditional, but being able to use that mana for anything relevant is conditional on you having something else to do with it. And that's why I'm so off this card.
It's a powerful effect, but it's just too narrow, too conditional. I don't see room for it in decks that want to try to abuse this effect. And I think that we kind of are maybe mentally still trying to recover from the Cloud of Fairies Peregrine Drake debacle.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that still has like tormented some of us, and we're just anytime we see untapped lands, we grab our torches and our pitchforks and head for the hills. And
Yeah, I think anybody who's read the ban list, you've got Frantic Search on there, and you've got these other two things that untap lands, but Snap's still not banned, and it's miles better than this.
yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say. If you really need this effect, play Snap.
The decks we've discussed playing this all would rather have a counterspell that has upside.
They would rather have a counterspell like Rewind, or they could just make use of Snap.
Well, by upside, I mean like Exclude or whatever the one that returns...
Soul Manipulation. Exclude. Yeah. I mean, Tron makes great use out of the X Blue Scry.
Oh, yeah.
I always forget the name of that card.
Condescend, yeah.
Yeah, there are just better counterspells that these decks can play that are not conditional and are just easier to plan your turns around. It's just incredibly difficult to plan around, okay, I'm going to leave up 3 so I can cast this spell and then untap a bunch of mana and have a bunch of mana to do something big, 2 on their end step. Like, those decks are just a lot of and Tron is really a tap out control deck anyway.
Yeah.
They don't want to be holding up mana. They're even to the point where they're moving away from Exclude.
And if the card you want to play is counterspell, like if you're going to untap 3 lands and play another counterspell, it doesn't help you in that counter war. You have to hope that they've cast a non-creature and then they've cast something that, like sorcery speed, that you want to counter again. That's just so narrow, like, bleh.
Yeah. I think we could go on about why we don't like this card, but I think we've pretty much covered it, right?
Yeah, that's mostly what I wanted to say.
Okay. Yeah. Moral of the story, Unwind, not good. Next card is Vidalian Arcanist. It's a 1 and a blue for a Merfolk Wizard. It's a 1/3, and it has add colorless to your mana. Just add colorless, period. We don't have mana pools anymore because that's confusing.
What? I didn't know that.
Well, read this card. Add colorless, period.
Huh.
I think this is even more confusing. Where's my mana going? It's not my mana pool. Where is it? I got to keep my mana somewhere. I don't know. I'm probably the only person who hates this formatting change. I understand why it's good. For a new player, they're just like, well, what's my mana pool? Do I represent that somewhere? Do I, and also it removes 2 words from their template. So now every time they have to write this effect, they've cut 2 words off. They're saving money. It's great.
It's 4 words. To your mana pool.
You're right. 4 words. It's even better than I thought.
Yeah.
I still hate it. It bugs me. It bugs me. Add colorless, period.
I love this. I love that change.
I mean, it's great for a lot of reasons, but just reading that, add colorless, period, I don't know. It bothers me in the head. It just bugs my head. I don't know. I feel like my mana should go somewhere.
All right, old.
It's weird. Anyway, spend this mana only to cast instants or sorcery spells.
And you skipped the part where you're tapping to do that.
I said tap, add colorless, period, and then I went on my rant about...
I didn't hear you say tap, sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I probably didn't, so poo-poo to you.
So, we have Deranged Assistant, which you tap to add a colorless that can be spent on anything. You have to mill a card every time you do that. And then we have Sea Scryer, which I didn't know existed until I looked this up. It's a merfolk that's also a 2-drop that you can add 1. I think it also has, it filters things into blue. But they're 1/1s. And this is a 1/3, which I think is relevant. I kind of like this card.
Yeah, I think it's like fine. I don't know if it's playable or if it will be played, but it's an interesting effect, and it's maybe has a home.
Yeah, I'm excited to at least try this card out. It's one of my faves.
Yeah, should we move on to black?
I'm going to talk about Temporal Machinations.
What is that?
On the Reddit, it's at the end of the list. They kind of skipped that card for some reason.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's not on this list that you sent me.
Next, we have Temporal Machinations. It's 2 and a blue for a sorcery. It says return a creature to its owner's hand. Return target creature to its owner's hand. If you control an artifact, draw a card. That doesn't seem bad. I just don't know if you want your bounce spell to be that expensive, even with drawing a card.
Yeah.
And it's sorcery. Ew.
Yeah. Was it even worth talking about? We could have just gone to black like I wanted to.
We can go to black now.
Okay.
Once we go there, we'll never go back.
Blessings of bells and lock.
Okay.
It's an instant for a single black. Target creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn. If it is legendary, though, it does get lifelink, so this card's irrelevant in Pauper. Let's move on.
Yep. We have Cabal Evangel. It's 1 and a black for a 2/2 human cleric. That's it.
It's a bear.
It's a bear.
It's a bear. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. Next card, Cabal Paladin, 3 and a black for a creature human knight. It's 4/2. Whenever you cast a historic spell, it deals 2 damage to each opponent.
Hype! I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, this card seems good.
Maybe the most playable historic word thing.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that.
Yeah, it is
I don't know.
whenever
I might be a little more high on the bird, just because I think if the bird does go somewhere, I think it's gonna be really good. You know, like if the bird does find a home, I think that its effect is going to be very good. But I don't know. I feel like the bird is easier to place than this card is, but I could just be very wrong.
I can see what you're saying. I think it's close, but I'm more excited about the paladin. Like the 4/2 body's pretty big. It's not a 1 toughness creature.
Yeah.
Thank heavens. And 2 is a lot of damage every time you cast a spell. Like this is a must-kill threat. It's pretty expensive, so you're not going to be casting an artifact the same turn as it, most likely. But
yeah,
I think it's good on its own. Like the bird's meh on its own, and this is like, I think this is just good on its own. Like maybe like yeah, you do need artifacts, but that's pretty easy to do. I just wish your artifact lands would work with this. Next is Caligo's Skin Witch. It's 1 and a black for a 1/3 human wizard. It has kicker of 3 and a black. If you pay the kicker, when it enters the battlefield, target opponent draws 2 cards or discards 2 cards.
I would rather just play black and cast Wrenchmind.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. Like 6 mana for a 1/3 with that effect is not good.
The next card is one that I am pretty high on. It's 3 and a black for an instant. It says, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand and the other into the graveyard. Dark Bargain deals 2 damage to you. Like, obviously this card is comparable to Read the Bones. Read the Bones, you scry 2, draw 2, lose 2 life for 1 mana less. This card is an instant. You look at 3 cards, you get 2 of them, so you're getting the same amount of cards with a little bit less filtering. But the other card going to your graveyard, I think, is huge upside. for decks that want to play this effect.
Yeah, Chainer's Edict going straight to the yard and then getting 2 cards. That's like
Forbidden
3.
Alchemy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think this card is good. Maybe I'm out of my mind, but I think that this card replaces Mystical Teachings. Like decks are already, like Alchemy decks are already moving away from Teachings as it is. And
yeah, this is tutorable. But
this,
I guess
you can't. Yeah, you take away the Teachings, it's not tutorable. But Teachings just replaces itself and gets you. You stay at parity because Teachings is like, okay, I Teachings for my answer, and then I spend my answer, and I'm at parity. This card goes. I don't know. The ceiling on this card is just so much higher. Or is it the floor? I don't know. I think this card is better than Mystical Teachings. You get 2 cards, and you dump another card into your graveyard, which in these decks could almost be like drawing 3 cards. I dump my graveyard effect, and then I draw 2 new cards.
You have way more experience with like Teachings and Alchemy lists than I do, but I still don't know if they want this. Like, the 2 damage, I want to say it is going to scare a lot of control decks like that off. And then...
I mean, these control decks, though, they do usually have Radiant Fountain. They do have, 4 of the tap gain life lands. The 2 damage is relevant. That is definitely, like... When I look at this card, that is the one thing that I think about, like, can I afford to take 2 damage here? But I think that if you take your 1 copy of Mystical Teachings out of your deck and replace it with Dark Bargain, that might be a thing. But I don't know.
You're kind of opening yourself up a little bit to, like, I know if you're playing Mystical Teachings or Alchemy and they have a Dispel in hand, the answer is almost never cast your Dispel. Unless you've already got the game in the bag and you don't want them to have anything. But this is like a no-brainer. You cast your Dispel on it. Otherwise, they're going to get some pretty nutty cards. I really like it. It's one of the better cards in the set. It stands the most chance of being played over most of these other things.
I don't know. I think that it could replace Mystical Teachings. I think that there are a lot of upsides to Mystical Teachings that this card doesn't have.
Yeah.
One of the things that the blue-black Teachings deck lack is like a true source of card advantage. Mystical Teachings just replaces itself. And the deck kind of just tries to slowly grind and get ahead. But this card, drawing 2 cards, replaces itself, gets you up a card, and then if you put something into your graveyard that's relevant, you're essentially drawing 3 cards.
If I think of it in more of the context of not the current lists, but if we go back to 4 Mystical Teachings and then think about this as another tool, I could see them playing like 1 in their toolbox.
Yeah. I just don't see the decks ever going to 4 Mystical Teachings. Forbidden Alchemy is just so much better. So much more powerful.
I guess
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that like there's worlds where you can be on, 1 Teachings, 1 Dark Bargain. But I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see people cutting Mystical Teachings and just playing 1 Dark Bargain instead of 1 Mystical Teachings. Whether or not it's better, I honestly cannot say. I see huge upside to both cards, and downsides to both cards. So
yeah, the instant speed really isn't a factor in other black decks. I want to say, like, you really don't care about that. They mostly just do things at sorcery speed.
They would just play Read the Bones.
Yeah, they would just play Read the Bones.
Yeah, I think this card is only relevant in the context of Mystical Teachings and like potentially Marasatron.
Yeah.
If you've got a mnemonic wall, decks that have ways to abuse putting a card into the graveyard. But again, Marasatron would just max out on Forbidden Alchemy.
Yeah, because it looks at more
cards like this. Yeah. and puts more cards in the graveyard.
So it saddens me that like this is a powerful card. I want to do things with it, but then when I get down to the nitty-gritty of like what would I do with it, there are other cards that I would prefer.
Again, I think the only home for this is blue-black alchemy decks, and it's still just going to be a debate of is Mystical Teachings just better? You know, flashback on Mystical Teachings is a pretty big upside. Yeah. Like, if you can flashback Mystical Teachings, that is now a form of card advantage.
And always getting the card you need.
Right. And then, yeah, just being able to grab the exact answer definitely has a lot of value over 3 random cards.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to think about like a 4 Mystical Teachings list. And yeah, maybe then. Anyway, our next card is Deathbloom Thallid. It's 2 and a black for a 3/2 fungus. When it dies, create a 1/1 green Saproling token? No.
I think this card is meh.
It is meh.
I don't, maybe if it was like a 2/3.
Huh, I was thinking like, at least it beats through Augur Bolas.
I guess that's true, yeah. It beats through Augur Bolas. I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot of more efficient cards that have this exact effect.
Yeah.
You know? If you're in the business for an effect like this, I don't know that you really care about having a 3-powered body. Like, you would just play, all the 1 mana and 2 mana creatures that exist that do this.
The manifest creature, the 1/1 that manifests and stuff. Yeah, I'm not...
Or the Pilgrim? Not the Pilgrim.
Doomed Traveler?
Doomed Traveler. There's the 1 in a black that makes a 2/2 zombie when it dies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just better things, I think. And like I said, decks that care about making this effect probably don't care about a 3/2 because, I don't know. They're not worried about beating through an Augur Bolas. All right. Demonic Vigor is black for an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1, and when enchanted creature dies, return that card to its owner's hand. This is a pretty good effect. It's sort of reminiscent of like totem armor. Just kind of saves your creature, right? They get their small bonus, and then when they die, you're essentially up a card. Well, you're not up a card, but you, instead of trading your creature and your enchantment, you're really just trading your enchantment for your opponent's creature. I guess I'm assuming that both creatures are dying in this scenario, but then you get your creature back.
I kind of want to bring up that Squeeze Embrace already exists. It's black and a red, not black and a red. It's white and a red. Mm-hmm. It gives your creature +2/+2, and it has this exact same effect of when it dies, return it to its owner's hand. It's kind of better than a totem armor because it does return it to your hand, and you get to re-trigger its ETB effect, which is neat.
Right.
But this is a single black, Vigor, which is good.
Yeah. Demonic Vigor is 1 less power, 1 less toughness for 1 less mana, and it's in black. So, I mean, I don't know if there are ways to abuse this in black. I don't know. You could put it on your Gray Merchant and start beating with a 3/6.
What's that Zealot? The Dusk Legion Zealot. I could see this been put on Dusk Legion Zealots and...
Oh, yeah. Draw a card, lose a life?
Yeah.
And just turn it into a 2/2 beater that your opponent just takes 2 every turn, and then if they kill it, you... just play it again, draw a new card, and lose a life. That seems great.
Build your own Phyrexian Rager. Or just put it on Phyrexian Rager. And then you have a 3/3. That seems good to me as well.
This card is interesting. I think that this card may have some use.
The only reason I would say that maybe it's not so great is because we already have Undying Evil. And
that's true.
That card, you do have to wait for something to kill your creature. Either have a sack effect or throw it into combat where it's going to die. They're both potential 2-for-1s where you could lose your creature and the effect. But I think the +1/+1 on this beforehand It has potential. I really like this. There could be some kind of like Auramancer build. Like,
Yeah.
I've played Squeeze Embrace with Auramancer, and that feels really good. So
Yeah, your
this has
creatures just
potential.
never die. All right. Next card.
Next is Divest. It is a single black for a sorcery. It says target opponent reveals their hand, choose an artifact or a creature. They discard that card. I want to like you have to compare this to the other single black, or there's a double black spell that I also want to bring up. First is this is strictly better than Ostracize, which only can hit creatures. So we did get an upgrade. Then we have Duress, which you play this instead of Duress if you care more about creatures. But already Ostracize wasn't played much. And I don't know if tacking, being able to hit artifacts onto this is super helpful. Is it?
I don't think so. I think that if you're in the business of dealing with artifacts, just put artifact hate in your deck. You know, I would rather have destroy an artifact than divest.
Well, Mono Black doesn't have access to artifact destruction.
I guess that's true.
So this is their first artifact hate, really.
Yeah, I still don't think I would play this if I was in a mono black deck.
Yeah.
I think that the artifacts that you care about killing in a mono black deck are probably still just the creatures, I would assume.
Yeah. And you can just Doomblade those.
Relevant, though, you can steal away lands.
Yeah.
So I can take away your artifact lands with this card. So,
and
that's a powerful thing. Thought seizing someone's lands, that's kind of busted.
Yeah, it's usually not good to do that. Like, it's so narrow when that's the thing to do. And then when you do it, they could just like draw land and you're just like, oh no, now they just have gas in hand. So yeah. I don't think Divest is gonna see a lot of play. But
I don't think so either.
Pauper got an upgrade.
Alright. Drudge Sentinel. 2 and a black for a 2/1 skeleton warrior. Pay 3. Tap Drudge Sentinel. It gains indestructible until the end of turn.
Sucks.
Yeah, this card is stinky.
Next is
it can attack and protect itself. So
that's true. Meh, it's a lot of mana. It's only a 2/1.
It can't attack.
Oh,
and protect itself because tapping it is part of.
No, it attacks.
Oh no, it's not part of the cost. Oh, you're right. Never mind. You're right. Okay, the way you can attack with this and make it indestructible. So, it's still just too expensive. You're right.
So next is Eviscerate. It's 3 and a black, sorcery, destroy target creature. You should play Murder or one of our 2 mana kill spells. It's too expensive.
Play Doomblade.
And it's sorcery.
Okay, Feral Abomination, 6 mana for a 5/5 with Death Touch. No.
Next is Fungal Infection. It is a black for an instant. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Create a 1/1 green Saproling token.
I think this card is pretty good. Obviously, what you're comparing it to is Disfigure, which is -2/-2 for the exact same rate. The difference here being you can make a 1/1 creature to go with it. So you can almost do the same thing as Disfigure and like give your 2/2 -1/-1, then block with the Saproling. And if you're a deck that cares about making extra little tokens, I think this card has some upside.
Yeah, if I want to kill stuff, it's not great. If I want to make a guy, now we're kind of talking. But
it still kills a lot of stuff. There are still a lot of 1/1s in this format.
There are, but there's so many. Like the two toughness creatures are just so much more relevant. Like, it kills a ninja, I guess. Like, make it and then block
I mean,
it.
it's still tough though because they've got to not have a removal spell for that 1/1 before blocks,
and it has to already be on the battlefield. It can't
I think that if you don't, like I said, if you don't care about making the 1/1, like this is only for decks that need to make that extra 1/1, you play Disfigure instead.
Yeah, or like Tragic Slip.
Yeah, if you can abuse the synergy that this card has with, I don't know, whatever, but of making this 1/1, then this card is good. It's probably better than Disfigure in that case.
Yeah.
But if you don't abuse this effect, Disfigure is just better.
It's good that Saproling is a relevant creature type.
Yeah.
This could have been like a Thopter or something.
Yeah.
Next is Rat Colony. It is 1 and a black for a 2/1 rat. You can have any number of Rat Colony in your deck, and it gets +1/+0 for each other rat you control. So this, I want to say, despite only having 1 toughness, is better than Relentless Rats because it plays nice with other rats. Like, an actual rat deck can form.
Yeah.
And not
you can just play, I don't know, 25 Rat Colony and 10 other utility rats. Yeah. I don't know. Aren't there like when this rat, you can play some Chittering Rats. You can play a couple, like, isn't there when this rat dies, give a creature -1/-1 or something?
I don't know about that one, but I know there's like a 2-mana rat that when it enters, your opponent discards a card, and like there's the rat, whatever the rat is that you can pay black into to wipe the board. These aren't going to live through that, but I actually tried out that Relentless Rats deck, and what I ran into was everyone else in the format, they had creatures with abilities that generated them advantage, and I was the guy that was like, it kind of felt like Slivers in that, oh, one day these will be big enough, and it was kind of like an all or nothing.
It was kind of just like, unless you had a Dark Ritual and you could play a Relentless Rat on, turn 1, and then not do anything on turn 2, except attack him with a 2/2. I don't know. I don't think Relentless Rats was great, and I don't think that this is much better, but I do think it's a little better because it does synergize with other rats. So you don't have to just play a bunch of bad 3-mana 2/2s.
Yeah, it's... When I built the deck, I ended up being like, man, I wish I could splash some other cards in here. If I could only play, like, I don't know, 16 of these things, that'd be great, and play a whole bunch of other stuff, but I had to put so many in there to make it worth it. This, you can only put in, like, say you only want 8 of these to fill out your rat slots. You can totally do that, so I think they're actually pretty decent.
Yeah. Okay. Next card, we have Soul Salvage. 2 and a black sorcery. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. I think they're just better effects.
Yeah, and Dutiful Return is exactly this card, and it exists.
Yep.
So next is Stronghold Confessor. It's a single black for a 1/1 human cleric. It has kicker of 3. If you kicked it, when it enters the battlefield, it gets 2 +1/+1 counters, and it has Menace. Bad.
Yep. Thallid Omnivore. 3 and a black for a 3/3 fungus. It has 1, sacrifice another creature. Thallid Omnivore gets +2/+2. If a Saproling was sacrificed this way, you gain 2 life. I think this card is fine if you can make Thallid or Saproling synergies a thing. I don't know. The 3-mana sack outlet. Oh, never mind. This card costs 1 to sack a creature. It's bad.
Yeah, if it was free to sack the creature, I would say, oh, this is sweet. But having to pay mana and sacrifice a creature? Come on.
Yeah, that's rough.
Next, we have Vicious Offering. It's 1 and a black for an instant. It gives a creature -2/-2 until end of turn. It has kicker of sacrifice a creature. If you kicked it, it gives it -5/-5 instead. This is great. This adds to our suite of like 1 and 2 mana -2/-2 effects. And the problem with all of those cards were later game when they're playing their higher toughness creatures, they become irrelevant. You kind of feel silly for having them in your hand. Although that doesn't happen that much when you have Disfigure. You can almost always find a use for Disfigure. So this really would have to be in a deck with lots of things that you're okay sacrificing. It's got cool synergy with Muldrifter. This definitely has potential.
Yeah, and the card that this would be comparable to is Tragic Slip.
Mm-hmm.
The difference, obviously, is Tragic Slip can kill bigger creatures and cost a mana less. The difference here being, though, is killing a 5/5 in the context of Pauper really all that different than killing a 12/12? Or was it 13/13?
It's 13.
13? You know? There's not a lot that's just bigger than 5/5 that I'm like, oh, if only I had a Tragic Slip here. And Vicious Offering is a little bit easier to trigger. Like, with Tragic Slip, you're usually like letting one of your creatures die in combat or something to trigger the Morbid.
It's kind of hard to trigger that Morbid.
It's sometimes hard, yeah. It's sometimes hard to get Morbid to trigger. This is almost the same. It's just you get to choose when your creature dies. You get to choose when you can trigger Morbid by just sacking your creature. I think this card is better than Tragic Slip.
Yeah, I would say that it's better than Tragic Slip in my head. The fact that it's -2/-2 when you don't want to do that, when you don't want to lose a creature or something doesn't die, that's good. Like, there's tons of 2 toughness creatures that I want to kill.
Yeah, I don't know. They just keep printing these -2/-2 effects, and they just keep getting better. Like, what was the -2/-2 that they printed in the last set that we were really high on?
Moment of Craving.
Moment of Craving. This card's probably better than Moment of Craving, right?
It depends on the deck. If you're a low creature count deck, I might say the Moment of Craving is better. But if you have lots of creatures and like you're trying to get them to die somehow,
you just cast your fungal infection on their 1/1, got your Saproling, and then sacked it and killed their 2/4.
Bam!
Got him. The one thing that's hard here is that, if this does get countered, you are down quite a bit. Which Tragic Slip, you're down a lot less because your creature was, dying anyway. If Morbid was triggered, there's probably nothing you could have done about losing your creature. So you're still 1-for-1ing.
Unless you're doing it on purpose to trigger it,
unless you are triggering Morbid on purpose, then if you're triggering Morbid on purpose, then this is the exact same, right? It's just this is better because it's easier to control Morbid because you just sack the creature as part of its cost. So I still think this card is better than Tragic Slip.
Agreed.
Next card. Oh, man. Oh, daddy. We got ourselves a Cat Warrior. A 3/2 flying Cat Warrior. The Wind-Graced Acolyte. For 4 and a black. A flyer. When Wind-Graced Acolyte enters the battlefield, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, and you gain 3 life. Is this better than the Crab that you thought was decent?
I think... Oh, man. It has flying...
Yeah. Doesn't the Crab say 4 cards?
It says 4.
Okay, so you see an extra card with the Crab. You have an extra point of toughness with the Crab. But this guy has flying. It's 1 mana more, right?
It is 1 mana more.
Okay.
So
the Crab
I want to say
better.
The reason the Crab is better is because it's in blue. Blue doesn't have a whole lot of those self-mill effects. Okay. Black already does have a fair number of self-mill effects, so I think that this doesn't add as much.
All right, let's go to red then.
Bloodstone Goblin. It's 1 and a red for a 2/2 Goblin Warrior. It gets +1/+1 in Menace until end of turn when you kick a spell. You're not going to kick enough spells to make this thing better than a bear.
Yeah. Fervent Strike is the next card. It's a 1 red for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 against first strike and haste. I think that there are just better pump spells for the red deck wins deck, right?
Yeah, I want to say it's worse than Weapon Surge in a lot of ways.
And I don't know, if you really want to give your creature haste, maybe you just play the Speedy Boots that let you draw a card.
Speedy Boots?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Crimson Wisps?
No, it's a newer card. It's like 1 red, and a target creature gains haste, and you draw a card. And that's it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. This card does give you first strike and an extra +1, but I don't really know. You probably just don't want any of these because you can play better cards.
Yeah, like the Reckless Charge or whatever it is with the flashback. It gives it +3. I'll just play that card, thank you very much.
Yeah. Tell me about Fiery Intervention.
Well, Fiery Intervention is like 4 and like a red for like a sorcery.
L.
You choose 1, deal 5 damage to target creature, or destroy an artifact. No thanks.
I do like cards that give me options, and this card gives me options, but it's too expensive.
Yeah.
And it's sorcery speed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it kills pretty much everything, but it's sorcery and it's 5 mana, so no.
I wanted it to be like 5 damage to a creature, like deal your opponent 7 damage or something like that.
I wanted it to be 5 mana, destroy all your opponent's permanents, and they lose the game. But we can't have our cake and eat it too, Sean.
Just tell me about Frenzied Rage.
The next card is Frenzied Rage.
What's Frenzied Rage?
It's a 1 and a red for an aura.
Wow.
I'm so raging. My voice cracked. Enchanted creature gets +2/+1 and has menace.
All right.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Let's just play Madcap skills. That's what I say.
I love those Madcap skills.
Next is our suite of Gitu creatures. Gitu Chronicler is 1 and a red for a 1/3 human wizard. Has kicker of 3 and a red. When it enters the battlefield, if you kicked it, return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard in your hand. It's with the kicker. It's 1 more mana than what is it? Anarchist.
Mnemonic Wall.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the red one.
Oh, yeah.
It's Anarchist. I don't think that the 1/3 body is very relevant. It's too expensive.
Yeah. Gitu Journey Mage. 2 and a red for a 3/2 human wizard. When Gitu Journey Mage enters the battlefield, if you control another wizard, Gitu Journey Mage deals 2 damage to each opponent. Meh. Not good.
Yeah, I'm not going to control a wizard.
And I don't know that I care about just shocking my opponent.
No.
Conditional shock my opponent for
each opponent.
3. Oh, yeah, you're right. This is going to go great in my brawl deck. I'm ready to brawl now. This is relevant in Two-Headed Giant because it deals 4. Because it does say each opponent, so even though your opponents are sharing a life total, there are 2 of them, so they're taking 4.
But you've had to put wizards in your deck, and so they're essentially taking like 5 less because your cards suck.
I don't know. There's some good wizards in this deck, and there's Wizard Lightning Bolt.
You sound like that brewer that's like, I don't know, my deck's pretty good.
We're talking completely in the context of Two-Headed Giant Limited, so I don't know what you're complaining about.
Oh, I thought
we
were talking about Two-Headed Giant Popper.
No one plays Two-Headed Giant Popper.
Exactly. Gitu Lava Runner is a single red for a 1. Lava Runner.
Obviously, I'm talking about Limited. No, you're not moving on. Okay, move on.
Gives you Lava Runner is a single red for a 1/2 human wizard. It gets +1/+0 and haste if you have 2 or more instant and sorcery spells in your graveyard. It does it like a crappy goblin look for lands guy.
Goblin Guide?
Goblin guide. It has a crappy goblin guide impression.
Aren't there just a lot better 2-powered and other haste creatures in this format?
For 1 mana?
Yeah.
Not really.
No? Okay.
If let's take a little trip into magical Christmas land. With
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is the red deck that would play this card, like the red deck wins deck, just has better creatures, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
And
let's
it
move
doesn't
on.
it doesn't run enough instant or sorcery spells. This isn't going
Yeah.
in your burn deck.
No.
Let's move on.
No. Keldon Overseer is a 3/1 human warrior for 2 generic and a red. It has a kicker of 3 and a red. It has haste, so you're paying 3 mana for a 3/1 with haste. And if it was kicked, gain control of target creature, untap that creature, and give it haste. That is a pretty powerful effect. 7 mana is probably way too expensive, though.
Yeah. This is like the only creature I want to say that's like decent without its kicker, because it's a 3/1 with haste for 3, but
I don't know that I want to play 3 mana for a 3/1 with haste and trade it with their Spellstutter Sprite.
or literally anything.
Yeah.
So, meh.
Meh. I think that if its kicker was a lot less expensive,
Yeah.
like maybe if this guy was 2 in a red and its kicker was this same, or if its kicker was 2 in a red and it was 2 in a red, you know?
Wait, how
'Cause
much
that's
does it cost?
It costs 2 in a red and its kicker is 3 in a red. So I was saying maybe if Keldon Overseer was 2 in a red, so 2 mana for a 3/1 with haste, or if its kicker was 2 in a red. Like, that might be a little better. But 7 mana for this effect just seems too much.
Yeah, too much. Next we have Keldon Raider. It's 2 red for a 4/3 human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, you may discard a card and draw a card.
It's okay. Maybe. Maybe it played. Probably not, but maybe.
Yeah, probably not, but Balduvarian Horde hasn't seen any play, and that
That's
card's
true.
meh. Next.
Keldon Warcaller is a 2/2 human warrior for 1 generic and a red. When it attacks, put a lore counter on a saga you control. We don't have any sagas, so this card's irrelevant.
Pyromantic Pilgrim. It's 2 in a red for a 3/1 with haste. So it's exactly like that other card, but it has less abilities. Moving on.
Okay. Radiating Lightning is 3 in a red for an instant, deals 3 damage to target player and 1 damage to each creature that player controls. This is an interesting effect, but Electricity is just better.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you get to wipe their board of 1/1s and deal them 3 damage is fine, but, you know, Electricity is still just better. Just overload Electricity and attack them with your creature.
like, they're not going to be able to, like, spell stutter this or nothing, which is
That's true.
cool.
This is way outside the realm of Spellstutter Sprite, but it does get counterspelled really easily.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not high on this card. I don't think it's even worth playing if we have Electricity.
Yep, that card just invalidates so many cards that you kind of want to put in your decks. Electricity does.
Yeah, Electricity's broken. Ban Electricity!
Next we have Rampaging Cyclops. It's 3 in a red for a 4/4 Cyclops. It gets -2/-0 as long as 2 or more creatures are blocking it.
Perfect. That's exactly what I want out of my 4-powered creature, for it to not trade with my opponent's creatures in combat. Perfect.
Really?
Yeah. I love the fact that I can attack with my Fofo. They can block it with 4 Augur of Bolas, and I can lose my creature. Or they could block it with a Ninja and an Augur, and I could lose my creature.
All right, you get the
Or best case scenario, they block it with 4 1/1s, and I eat one of their 1/1s. Wow, what a card!
So
What a card!
I'm making up a new thing. They're called common knowledge points, and you get foe of them because you said fofo. Moving on.
What do common knowledge points do? Are they redeemable?
Yeah, for common knowledge.
Ah. How do you earn them?
Do you want to spend one right now?
Yeah.
Stop signs are red.
Wow. Wow.
Next,
How do I earn more?
Be clever or insightful.
Wow. All I had to do was say fofo? Wow.
Next is run amok.
Wow, this is only fui. Not fofo.
It's 1 in a red for an instant. Target attacking creature gets +3/+3 and trample until end of turn. No.
Brute strength already exists. Doesn't that do the exact same thing?
It doesn't give it trample, but that's not worth a mana.
Yeah. I mean, the Teamer Battle Rage already is a thing. So if you're spending 2 mana, play Teamer Battle Rage.
Definitely.
Yeah. Did I get some knowledge points for that?
No.
Come on. That was some good stuff there. There were a lot of listeners at home that were like, this card looks great, and I don't know Teamer Battle Rage exists. And I just blew their mind with knowledge. There's someone out there who just benefited from what I said.
Do I need to stop making common knowledge points because you're going to be
just give me a knowledge point.
No. That will completely mess up the common knowledge point market. Devaluate the currency.
Red, sorcery, destroy target land. Up to 2 target creatures can't block this turn. Moving on.
Shivan Fire. It's 1 red. Sorry, it's a single red for an instant. It deals 2 damage to target creature. It has a kicker of 4. If it was kicked, deal 4 damage instead. Wow, it's a worse burst lightning. Because it can't hit players.
Literally a worse burst lightning.
You had an opportunity to print burst lightning again, and you're like, let's make worse version.
Shivan Fire. You know, they could have still called it Shivan Fire if they wanted to do that, really badly. And they could have still just made it burst lightning. Then we could have 8 burst lightnings. Then we'd have way more opportunities to pass burst lightning for foil Tarmogoyf.
Are we ready for green?
Just saying, that guy won. Okay?
Huh?
I know that everyone was like, what an idiot. He could have taken burst lightning. He took foil Tarmogoyf. He sold that card for affinity dollars, okay?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You need to educate yourself.
Why the hell did I watch Limited?
You were at that tournament. You were there.
Yeah, I was playing Magic and not watching other people.
You weren't playing Magic in that tournament because you didn't day 2 that tournament or top 8 that tournament.
Yeah, so I was driving home. Sad.
You should have been watching it on your phone.
Or watching you gamble. That's what I did that day.
Gambling's fun.
Looking for something to drink that was alcoholic.
I wasn't at that tournament, so you weren't watching me gamble. This was Modern Masters 1. The dude won the tournament, or maybe he didn't win the tournament. I think he was the guy who won the tournament, but in his top 8 draft, in pack 3, he opened a pack with Burst Lightning in it, and everyone was like, oh, slam the Burst Lightning. This is great in his deck. And then he got foil Tarmogoyf in the pack, and he just slammed the foil Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, because it's like an instant $600 or some crap like that.
Yeah, at the time it was like $400 or $500, easy. And so it was just like, well, I've top 8'd the tournament, so I'm already guaranteed X dollars. And then I'll take this, and now I'm just guaranteed even more money. And then I think because of it was such a big, not conspiracy. It was just it was very controversial because all the pro players were like offended that he took this card. They were like, he has no respect for the game, you know? He's just rare drafting where it's like he could have taken this Burst Lightning and made his deck that much better and tried to win the tournament, and instead he takes this foil Tarmogoyf. Yeah. And then he ends up, I think, winning the tournament anyway, and then he sold the foil Tarmogoyf on eBay for like an outrageous sum of money because it was like, this is the foil Tarmogoyf. So he won a GP twice, essentially.
For being in Grand Prix Las Vegas, he doesn't sound like much of a gambling man.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I was referring to with that.
Tell me what the best card in the set does.
This set?
Yeah.
Dominaria?
Yeah.
It's Warlord's Fury. It's a red mana for a sorcery. Creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn. Draw a card.
I'm gonna kick you so hard. Okay, is it? No. What?
That's our next card, right?
Is it?
It's the next one on the list.
I didn't even put that on the list. What does it do?
I just told you what it did. Listen, Linda. Linda, listen. All right, what's the next card on the red list that you have then?
No, that's it. That's the last red card is Warlord's Fury. I thought we were done with red.
Oh, Sheevan Fire? Okay. I was really confused where you were going with this best thing. Okay, so that's Sheevan Fire. Let's move on to the best card in the set. Adventurous Impulse for a green. Sorcery, look at the top 3 cards of your library. Reveal a creature or a land among them and put them in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in any order. So it's Green Ponder. Do you remember that card, Oath of Nissa, that rare card?
No.
That has irrelevant text for Pauper?
No.
This is the exact same card minus it being an enchantment. So this card is insane.
I don't know what
also
it does, but all right.
It's the exact same thing.
Oh.
Except it's an enchantment and it has more irrelevant text to Pauper.
Okay.
You can like pay mana of any color to cast Planeswalkers or something.
Okay. So
they took the irrelevant stuff off of that card, made it a common, and this card is just busted.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that green needs to make it so we can play 3 colors. Like, this doesn't make 3 colors playable all of a sudden, but this kind of inches us towards there. It makes, you can get your creatures.
It also, like, think about like an elf deck, and they're trying to play these splits on Lead the Stampedes and Distant Melody. Do you just cut your Lead the Stampedes and play this card instead?
You can cut your Distant Melody.
Oh, but that card's so good. It has little fairies on it. Okay, cut your Distant Melodies and play Lead the Stampedes in this. Yeah. I mean, this card I feel like just makes elf decks insanely consistent.
I actually don't think that it makes elf decks any better.
Play an elf. Play a Birch Lore elf. Tap them. Get a green mana. Cast this.
What's it called? Nature's Lore?
I don't know what that card is. I actually do know.
No, that's not what I'm thinking about. Not Commune with Nature. Gosh, it's 1 green. You look at the top 5 and you get a creature out of the top 5.
I don't know what this card is. Are you sure it's one green, like a single green mana, or is it colorless in the green?
It's a single green.
Wow. Okay, that card's really good.
People used to play that.
I don't know what that card is, so if that exists, then that's probably better in an elf deck than this, and that doesn't get played anyway, so...
Yeah, it's the fact that you can get a land as well. This makes one-landers more keepable, and late game you can get the creature you want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you do need to cut down on your instants and sorceries to make this better, but I'm still so excited about this card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this card's very good. I mean, it's green Ponder.
Yeah, like, you only get one of the cards and the rest go away. Ponder, of course, you can get all the cards if you want them.
Blue is so dumb.
Blue is dumb, but...
Why can't they just make everything blue? Then, if once everything's blue, nothing will be.
I don't know, that you could just go buy some of those all blue packs that are so neat, and everything will be blue.
What are you talking about?
I don't know, there's a pack that comes with like 8 cards, and they're all blue, and they have Jace on them.
Oh, the signature spellbook?
Yeah. Go buy a signature spellbook.
Arbor Armament. 1 green for an instant. Put a +1 counter on target creature. That creature gains reach until the end of turn. This card is deep. This card is like good, but it's not as good as the cards that already do this.
It's a literal reprint of Snare the Skies. Moving on. Baloth Gorger. It's two green for a 4/4 beast that has kicker of 4 when it enters the battlefield. If it was kicked, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. So it's really similar to Kavu Primarch, which it's 4 mana for a 3/3, and the kicker is 4 as well, but it has Convoke. So you can Convoke. If you didn't know this, you can Convoke that kicker as well. And
right. You can't do that with the Baloth Gorger, so
they both end up being 7/7s. The paying 4 mana, it's an extra green and it's a 4/4. I don't think that pushes it anywhere near to playable.
Right. I mean, a Baloth really only cares about the many things it eats and the few things that eat it. So what else can we say?
We could talk about Broken Bond.
Broken Bond. 1 and a green for a sorcery. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. You may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. This is a pretty powerful effect.
Yeah, it actually is. I would like to see this in instant, but I don't think that's necessarily like a detractor if you want to be putting more lands on the battlefield.
I think that this card kind of just says it all, right? I don't think we really need to say how, this effect is good.
Yeah.
But can we just step into the Vorthos for a minute and talk about how stupid this line is when Nissa says, "My watch is over"? Like you've taken the black. Shut up, Nissa. So I listened to the Magic Story podcast, the Unspoken Realms podcast.
All right.
A magic podcast about magic stories. And when the guy reading it was reading this part where Nissa was like mad at Liliana because Liliana is kind of a jerk, and they just got their butts kicked by Nicol Bolas, and Nissa's like, my watch is over, and then she just like walked away, and I was just like, that was so dumb.
Why do you think it's so dumb?
I think just because I don't know, because it just reminded me
petty?
of, it was, well, no, it was just like, I don't know, I just like, when she said it in my head, I just thought of Game of Thrones, and I thought of Jon Snow like handing his coat or his mantle to Dolorous Ed, and being like, my watch is over. I'm not in the Night's Watch anymore because I died, and I came back to life. So my watch has ended.
Didn't think about that, did you?
That's sort of just what I thought of, and I was just like, you know what, Nissa? Jon Snow already said that, and he said it better. So find your own thing, okay?
On real talk, though, I don't think this is playable. I've played the effects that are like, put an extra land from your hand onto the battlefield, and you really run into not having enough land in your hand to put onto the battlefield pretty often when you do this.
Yeah, but I mean, are there other 2-mana sorceries with this effect and better upside?
There's the one that gives you +2/+2. It's an instant speed pump spell.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, you could probably just play Naturalize. This same effect at instant speed without this ability.
And then you can play Explore if you really want that land and draw a card. It's a pretty good effect. Yeah. But, this is the first time it's been printed on destroying an artifact or enchantment, but I just want my destroy artifact or enchantment to be better than this. Like, Gleeful Sabotage me up, bruh.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say about this card.
Okay.
And honestly, all I have to say about it is how much I hate the flavor text in the line. And Nissa's just a whiny little whiner, and she needs to just go back to Zendikar and go Go cry a river.
Yeah, we'll find.
Little whiny. Oh, Nickel Boss kicked our butts. Oh, my watch has ended. Oh. Shut up.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Nissa. Anyway, next we have Corrosive Ooze. It's 1 and a green for a 2/2 ooze with a strange effect. When it blocks or is blocked by an equipped creature, destroy all equipment attached to that creature at the end of combat.
So this is a really powerful effect, but it's a really weird effect, like you said. And it's super niche.
Nietzsche?
And Nietzsche. And I don't see a relevance in the format.
No.
But I mean, if we ever get to a point where people are equipping up random creatures, this card seems fine.
Yeah.
You eat my creature and all I have to do is block your guy and you killed your 8 equipment? I don't know.
They'd have to be all over the place, and it doesn't kill the equipment until after combat, so your ooze is dying.
Yeah, I'd trade my ooze for their relevant equipment.
Yeah, and it does its damage, I guess, so if it was a toughness pumping equipment...
Yeah, and well, that's the other thing, too, is this creature doesn't have to deal damage. It just has to say block. So if they have an equipment that gives it first strike, this still destroys the equipment.
At the end of combat.
It just says block it. Right, but it doesn't have to deal damage is what I'm saying. So it's not I have to... Right? So it gets around a lot of stuff. I don't know.
I'm just
this
saying
card still isn't good.
I just wish if it killed it before it went into combat with it, so like if it had first strike...
so the Corrosive Ooze still stays alive?
Yeah, or like it does, it deals the damage. If it loses that toughness, the creature will still die since it still has that damage on it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that we could kind of argue semantics on this card forever, but moral of the story is it's a completely irrelevant effect for the format.
Yes.
So let's talk about Gaia's Protector.
What is it?
3 and a green for a 4/2 creature, Elemental Warrior, and it must be blocked if able. See, this is what I like out of my big 4-powered creatures.
Yeah.
Something that forces my opponent to trade with it. I wish that this was a 4/4 so that it ate things instead of just traded with, I traded my 4/4 for your...
With a pump spell or two, this eats their board. This eats on everything.
No, because it doesn't have to be blocked by everything. It just has to be blocked.
Yes, it does.
No, it just has to be blocked. Gaia's Protector must be blocked if able. That just means it has to be blocked once.
How's it? One second. I need to...
It's not a lure.
Oh, those say all creatures able to.
Yeah.
I just read it wrong.
Oh, sucker, I got you. I got a knowledge point.
Sure,
I'm up to 6. I'm up to 5 knowledge points.
No, you had 4. You spent 1 on the stop sign.
And then I got 2.
No, this gave you 1.
No, I got a knowledge point from that other thing.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, whether you wanted to give it to me or not, I got it.
I still have my knowledge point in my purse.
Nope. Tell me about
Gift of Growth. Gift of Growth is 1 and a green for an instant. It has kicker of 2 generic. It says target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and it untaps. It gets +4/+4 instead if it was kicked. Meh. I don't know what I'm doing with this. What am I doing with this?
This is a limited combat trick. I attack you with my creature, and then you go, you've attacked, and now I can attack you. And then you go, you've activated my trap card, and I'll pay 4 mana to make my creature a 6/6 and untap it and eat your creature.
And then you win your Shadow Realm duel. And
banish you to the Shadow Realm. Did you know that the Shadow Realm isn't in the original Yu-Gi-Oh? It was something that 4Kids created to censor people dying.
What, you mean the original anime or like the original comic book?
Both. The Shadow Realm did not exist. 4Kids created the Shadow Realm because they thought that people dying was too
edgy,
violent, too edgy. So they created the Shadow Realm, and people's souls got banished there instead of them just dying. Like in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0, Yugi just legit killed people. like, let's play a game. We'll flip a coin, and if I get heads, you die. And they're like, let's play this game. And then he like flips his coin. He's like, Mind Crush, and then they died.
Mind Crush, huh?
Yeah, that's Yami Yugi's special ability, Mind Crush.
Is that similar to Candy Crush?
No, it's a Mind Crush. Candy Crush is an enjoyable, fun time, lighthearted, happy game. Mind Crush means you die.
Okay. We're gonna
Grow from the ashes.
Okay.
Two and a green sorcery with Kicker 2. Search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, shuffle your library. If the spell is kicked, search your library for 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. What this card makes me think of is the rare card from one of the Amonkhet sets that is 4 and a green, search your library for 2 lands, put them onto the battlefield, and if they're deserts, you get 2 zombies, 2/2/2 zombies. This card is reminiscent of that, just because it gets you lands, but they're basic lands, and so I don't think this card is good.
It reminds me of the one with Spell Mastery that's only 3, and if you have... It's basically a Cultivate, and if you
that card exists.
Yeah, and if you have 2 instants or sorceries in your graveyard, you get like 3 into your hand?
Yeah, you get 1 into the battlefield and 2 into your hand, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a better version of this card.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree.
Next...
I just don't see the relevance of going from 5 mana to 7 or to 8. I mean, I don't know. On turn, like if you cast this on turn 5, like with no other ramp, you go from 5 to 8. It's
the fact that if you're paying 3 and you're getting that basic land, sure, that's honestly kind of bad. But then, like, okay, I'm at 5. I don't need to go any higher. That's pretty much where my curve should end.
Yeah, I don't think this card's good.
So
Krosan Druid
is Krosan Druid. It's 2 and a green for a 2/3 Centaur Druid, and it has kicker of 5 and a green. If you kicked it, when it enters the battlefield, you gain 10 life.
Wow.
Holy life gain, Batman, for 8 mana.
Wow. Okay. Llanowar Envoy, because we don't need to say why this card isn't playable, right?
Actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm interjecting again. Llanowar Envoy is 2 and a green for a 3/2 Elf Scout. You can pay...
That's not what I was talking about. I was talking about Krosan Druid.
Oh, yeah. I was like... I thought you were going to skip over Llanowar Envoy entirely.
No.
Go on.
I went straight to Llanowar Envoy because we don't need to talk about why Krosan Druid is bad.
Yeah, it is bad.
Okay. Llanowar Envoy. 1 green, add 1 mana any color to your mana pool for a 3/2 Elf Scout. So this card is great because it filters your mana and you can cast all your crazy spells in your elf deck, right?
Oh, not in your elf deck.
Not in your elf deck?
Yeah.
Where do you play this card then?
There's plenty of infinite combos that generate infinite mana, but then they're like, but I need infinite black mana instead. Like, there's been multiple decks that I've seen posted on Reddit that's like, is there any way to filter tons and tons of mana into another color? And we kind of have that.
This card does it. Yeah.
A 3/2 elf for 3 is good on its own.
Yeah.
Decent, at least.
Yeah, this card is fine. Tell me about the Llanowar Scout, though.
Llanowar Scout is 1 and a green for a 1/3 Elf Scout. It has tap. You may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. So we already have Sakura Tribe Scout, which is this, except it's 1 mana and a 1/1. And then we have Sky Shroud Ranger, which is also a 1 mana 1/1 that taps and puts a land onto the battlefield, but only at sorcery speed. So this is our third effect that does this on a creature. And I think that the fact that it's a 1/3 body is actually pretty relevant. The body is pretty good. And I've been brewing a deck that's like, it has both of those other creatures on it. I plan on slotting this in there, and it just plays 4 Gush, a whole bunch of Daze, a whole bunch of Fathom Seer, which is like the morph creature that essentially has Gush stapled onto it. And I'm just constantly drawing cards and refilling my hand and then triggering landfall like 7 times a turn. And it honestly needed a 1/3. Like, this is exactly what I was praying at night for to Mark Rosewater. Dear Mark Rosewater, print me a 1/3.
Sean, I'm gonna give you what you need.
What's Mammoth Spider?
It is unplayable. It's 4 and a green for a 3/5 spider with reach. Just play Penumbra Spider.
It's not creature type mammoth?
No, it's a spider. Okay, pierce the sky.
Pierce the Sky is 1 and a green instant. It deals 7 damage to target creature with flying. Why aren't you playing Plummet?
Yeah, or just play the Scattershot Archers.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if they have a humongous thing you need to kill, just play Plummet.
Yeah.
Strictly better. Primordial Worm is a 7/6 for 4 green.
That's
This
it.
might, if this is a slow limited format, you might play this in your limited decks.
Yeah.
Tell me about Sapperling Migration. This is so cute. Look at these little guys.
Sapperling Migration is 1 and a green for a sorcery. It creates 2 1/1 Sapperling tokens. You may pay 4 to kick it. If it was kicked, you make 4 tokens instead.
There's already a Sapperling making card with kicker in this, or buyback. Just play that one.
You have the buyback one, and then there's the convoke one.
Yeah, and then the convoke one.
Scatter the seeds. Both of those are better.
Yep. But can we just, this artwork though, look at these little guys just scampering through the forest with their little tentacle feet.
I'm looking
It's
for
like,
it.
meh.
Aw. They kind of look gross.
Rude. Okay, Yavimaya Shepherd is 2 and a green for a 2/2 fungus. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 green Sapperling creature token.
So the only thing I want to say about this is he looks weird, and he reminds me of a terrifying dream I had where there was these weird mushroom like things on the ground, and I walked by one, and like I looked down at my legs and they were just growing mushrooms out of them, and they got really itchy. It was terrifying. That's all I wanted to say about this card.
I do like that his little Sapperling friend down there, not the one that's like really close to the front of the card, but the one right next to him is kind of like dancing. He's like, yeah, I'm a little buddy. Yeah.
He reminds me of from Wind Waker, the little guy with the wooden mask.
Oh yeah.
Adorbs.
Wow, this set review has gone off the rails, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
If it's relevant, we'll talk about it, okay? If it's not, well then we're going to get distracted by something. And we're going to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And Vorthos and Wind Waker dancing little buddies.
Yeah, this is going to be a long episode, so we're going to break it up with some stupid things like that.
Yeah, because you know what? I'll be honest with you guys. I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, I think you might be able to convince me next time to skip like 50% of the cards.
I get distracted really easily, and I lose my focus.
All right, let's
Blood
bring it home.
Tallow Candle, bringing it home strong for the boys and the girls, because
so we're into the colorless spells now.
Just cut that part out. Let's not even go into genders. Let's move on to the colorless stuff then. Tell me about the Blood Tallow Candle.
It is a 1-mana artifact with 6 and tap and sacrifice. Target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn.
You mean I can pay 7 mana without sacrificing a creature to do what Vicious Thingamajig does?
You know, this is, I think, worse than Universal Solvent, which is this except for one more CMC to just, like, it's like exile target permanent or destroy target permanent, I think. That's
And
That's neat.
do you have to sacrifice it?
Yeah, you have to sacrifice both of them.
Yeah, and this just is a lot more restricted.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say no on this one.
Guardians of Koilos. It's a fofo for 5 artifact construct. When Guardians of Kolos enters the battlefield, you may return a target historic permanent to its owner's hand. Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic.
So that turned into Forrest Gump, I guess.
It's like Mama always said, archaeologists depend on automations inspired by their previous discoveries at Koilos to guard the excavations.
Mama says 4-4 is as 4-4 does.
my, Mama said, jousting lance gives your creature first strike for 2 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. As long as it's your turn, equipped creature gets first strike. Equipped for 3. I guess Mama was wrong again because
so the only thing,
it only gets first strike if it's your turn.
The only thing I want to say about Guardian of Koilos is that,
oh my gosh, you don't have anything to say about that card.
It's the first time colorless can like actually interact with like your opponent's artifacts, other than like universal solvent.
I guess so. All right, fine. Okay,
Next
well, we just covered Jousting Lance, so
yeah, that
Navigator's Compass.
Navigator's Compass is a 1-mana artifact. It has enter the battlefield, gain 3 life, and it has tap. Target land you control is the basic land type of your choice in addition to its other types until end of turn.
Wow, now my Landwalk creatures just got busted.
Hey, guess what?
Should we talk about Pardic Wanderer?
I'm going to start playing Gush in my mono green deck because I'm going to play 4 Navigator's Compass. Bam!
Wow, you broke it. Okay. Cut the show. Pauper's dead. You killed... We're done.
Pardic Wanderer is a 6-mana creature. It's a 5/5 artifact golem with trample. Don't play it.
His little fist is bizarro. It's like a foot on his arm.
It's like an obelisk that he just was like this.
It's weird that it's like curved forward, you know?
It looks like something from Halo.
Uppercut things.
Yeah.
There is a lot of archaeological stuff going about on Dominaria. The excavation schedule at Dig Site 93 Beta must be revised. Part of the site has walked off. They're gone. It just walked away. Power Stone Shard. 3 generic for an artifact. Tap, add generic.
For each artifact you control named Power Shard.
Add 3 generic. Just add 3 generic? Where'd it go?
No.
It's just gone?
It's 1 generic.
Oh, yeah. What did I say? Oh, it costs 3 generic. I got confused. Add 1 generic. Just add 1 generic. Just add it.
I think this is worth
Put it in your pocket.
This is worth keeping an eye on. It can make tons of mana. Probably going to be pretty tough to do, though.
Yeah, I mean, they stack interestingly well, and if you can ramp them out, I don't know. I also maybe just don't know if this is better than Pristine Talisman.
No, it's not.
I mean, it does make more mana, I guess, eventually. Like, I mean, this card is fine. I don't think it's going to be played anywhere. I think that the deck that wants to play this effect plays Pristine Talisman instead. But
I'm happy that I kind of get to see what Cloud Post looks like not on a land.
Oh yeah, I think if this card was 2 mana, it would be absurdo.
It would be broken.
Yeah.
Then we have
Short Sword.
Short Sword. It's an equipment. It has cost of 1. It's 1 to play, and the equipped creature gets +1/+1. So exactly like Leon and Scimitar.
Yep. Skittering Surveyor, 3 generic for a 1/2 construct. Artifact creature construct. When Skittering Surveyor enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your library. So this is a probably worse version of Pilgrim's Eye because it doesn't have flying, but it is a 1/2. Pilgrim's Eye is just a 1.
Yeah, it's worse than Pilgrim's Eye, I think.
Yeah. And
Next,
Pilgrim's Eye is bad.
It is actually bad. So next is Sparring Construct. It is 1 generic for a 1/1 artifact creature. When it construct.
Come on.
When it dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So pseudo modular, except a lot worse.
Yeah. This card is interesting though.
Yeah.
I think it's okay.
It's not terrible.
Know. If you want this effect, this card is fine, and I just don't know where it goes though. So, Voltaic Servant is 2 generic for a 1/3 artifact creature construct. At the beginning of your end step, untap target artifact. You're the artifact guy. This looks like a good effect, but it maybe is just not good. Is the fact that it's at end step just not good?
You know, like you can do stuff with like you've equipped your guy with Verdian Longbow, or like you could find a use for it, but it's not going to be very useful.
Okay.
You'd have to be trying really hard.
Is that it? All right, so let's talk about our top 5 picks from Dominaria for Pauper. We're going to go from our 5th pick down to our 1st pick. So my 5th pick for this is Artificer's Assistant. I think that you might have changed my mind with the black one. That one might be better, but I still think that if Artificer's Assistant goes somewhere, it's going to be highly synergistic, and that synergy is going to make it very strong.
Yeah, maybe if it's like looking for something specific. So in my number 5 spot, I have Cabal Paladin. So these are the 2 battling cards. I think that, you know, black affinity type deck that wants to be incredibly aggressive could make use of this. So I definitely think that one has potential.
Yeah, and I think that Cabal Paladin on its own is the more powerful card. But I think that Artificer's Assistant probably has a lot of good, powerful synergies with it. So, I mean, I really don't know. It could go either way. Either one of these cards could just be very good, I think. Cool. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is Dark Bargain. I actually changed this during the show. So Dark Bargain is that look at the top 3, put 1 in your graveyard, take 2 damage, put 2 in your hand. The fact that it's instant and it just has so much draw makes me want to think that this has a place. I don't know what it is though, so that's why I didn't get a higher place in my list.
My number 4 is Vicious Offering. I might be undervaluing this card a little bit. I think that after all of our talk, I think that it's my number 3 pick, and my number 3 pick is my number 4 pick. I think this card's really good, actually, now that we kind of talked about it a little more.
What's your number 3 pick?
My number 3 pick is Fungal Infection. So give a creature -1/-1, and you create a 1/1 for 1 black.
Yeah, I actually... This didn't make my list, but you kind of convinced me a little bit. Like, it got my imagination going of, like, the 1/1 seems really useful. Like, I can see making use of this in, like, combat and, like, just eventually getting a horde out in some kind of cool deck.
Yeah, and it can effectively do what Disfigure does. You know, it's still worse because they can interact with your 1/1 before you block. But it's got a lot of synergy with it. So that's why I think it's worse than Vicious Offering, but I still think it's worth putting on the list.
The rate is pretty good, though. It's basically the same rate as Disfigure. Like, you get a 1/1 and you get to give something.
Yeah, and if you can exploit the 1/1, the rate gets a lot higher. Like, the synergies that it can enforce or create are probably pretty high. So what is your number 3?
I have Charge. I was debating between my 2 and 3 being Charge. I just see the potential in charge of like, it's so powerful. Like when they did the leak, charge was one of the cards that was in there, and I was just like, please let us get charge. White tokens needs help, and for 1 white mana doing this to all of your creatures, it's not even just white creatures either. That's why I was kind of thinking, oh, this couldn't possibly be common. This has to be uncommon or something, and we totally got it. And so I'm psyched.
I think this card is really good. It didn't make my list. It was probably like my number 6. But I do think this card is really good too. So it's probably better than Artificer's Assistant. I want to take Artificer's Assistant off my list.
Yeah, Artificer's Assistant made a lot of people's lists. And like when I looked at the other cards, I'm like, it's just not as good as the other ones.
Yeah, I don't think it's as powerful as the Paladin. I don't think it's better than Charge. I think Charge is my number 5. That or Cabal Paladin. I don't know. I don't want Artificer's Assistant on my list.
I do give you mad props for putting Fungal Infection on your list. Like,
I think that card's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't really see it. I read it and I was like, meh. And then like when you put stock into it, I gave it another look and I'm like, oh wow.
Wow.
Like it's not bad.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's a little. I think that if I want to look at this again, I don't know. My number 5 is maybe Fungal Infection. My number 4 is Charge. I don't know. I don't know where those two go. Maybe they're very close, I think, in my book. And then my number 3 is Vicious Offering.
I think my top 3 compared to like below that, like there's a huge gap there between, I think, like Dark Bargain, Cabal Paladin, rest of the set. Anyway, my number 2 is Vicious Offering. Like, removal spells are always on my radar, and it seems like a very good removal spell. So it got number 2 for me.
My number 2 is Dark Bargain. I still might be a little too high on the card. I still think that I would replace Mystical Teachings in my Alchemy deck with this. I could just be way off base here, but I think that this card is quite good. But I'm really not sure if you play this card alongside Mystical Teachings. I think that it's like, I don't know, maybe if you were already playing 2 Mystical Teachings in your Alchemy deck, you cut one and play a Dark Bargain and a Teachings. And that might be fine. Or you just, but I mean, most decks are just playing 1 Mystical Teachings. And so I think that you might cut that card and play Dark Bargain. I don't know. Yeah, I might be a little high on this card, but I think it's very powerful.
Well, what do you have for number 1?
Adventurous Impulse. Ever heard of it?
Yeah, that's what I got for my number 1.
Yeah, this card is insane. I don't know how anyone could not have this as their number 1 pick.
Yeah, and I'm kind of getting cold feet a little bit. Like, oh no, I can't remember the name of the spell still, but like the look at the top 5 and you get a creature from them. But then, like, I'm just reassuring myself with 1 landers are more capable. Like, it does the same thing as Ponder does in that if you find a land, it's free. And then late game, you find the best card out of the 3, ship the bottom. Well, ship the rest of the bottom. Yeah. I don't think you're going to whiff very often with Adventurous Impulse. Like, that seems extremely rare, doesn't it?
I feel like the decks that play this, it's like, if you're whiffing with Adventurous Impulse, it's because you saw 2 Adventurous Impulses and a Lead the Stampede.
Like a Rancor?
You know? Yeah, a Rancor. Yeah, it's just incredibly hard to whiff with this card. So I think this card is insane. And I think that it should be everyone's number 1 pick. Because it's just good.
Yeah, because cantrips are good. Period.
All right. So we are just going to... I'm going to start that over. Okay. That was our set review, and those were our top 5 picks for Popper picks for Dominaria. If you're playing Paper Popper, these picks are the same. These Paper Popper picks are the same as the Magic Online Popper picks. These are just the Popper picks. We picked them, and they're for Popper.
Wow.
This is priceless.
Stop it.
Okay.
Get some
All right.
help.
This show was a long one. So we're going to go ahead and just skip the Popper Challenge breakdown for this week. Sorry if you're disappointed. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. Hashtag I want to go to bed. Hashtag this show is like 2.5 hours long. So
Yeah, do the outro.
outro time. Don't forget about our sponsor, PureMTGO.com. Your place for Magic the Gathering online related content. If you want to email the show, you can do so at commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com. And of course, you can support us at patreon.com/commonknowledge. Sean, where can we find you?
You can find me at Lobbert8 on Twitter, and you can find me on YouTube if you search for Lobbert. That's Lobbert. Where can they find
Lobbert. You can find me on Twitter at bclark_ck. That's really it. If you're probably only interested in following me on Twitter because that's where I will post anything relevant about the show. Or better, just follow the show at CK Podcast MTG. That is where I will more likely post things that are relevant at the show. So probably just better value to follow the podcast instead of me, because I'll be honest, I don't really tweet anything.
Sad.
I don't have a lot to say that the internet probably doesn't care about hearing. And if I'm tweeting something relevant, it's going to be about the podcast, and just follow the podcast. And if I tweet something, well, I'm going to, because I'm vain and petty, I'm going to log into the podcast Twitter, and I'm going to like and favorite and retweet my own tweet. So you'll see it anyway.
So the card I've been trying to think of the entire episode is commune with nature. Bye!
Aloha! Oh, I remember this card. Bye forever. Have a good day.